Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Growing Up is Overrated podcast. My name is Jen, and I'm here with my friend and co-host, T. This week we will be discussing our journeys with the job hunt. Although everyone's job search is different, there are common frustrations we've all experienced, and we wanted to share ours with you.
All right, so we're here.
We're finally here.
We're doing this. We're big girls.
Well, I don't know if we're big girls, but today we're here to talk about our journeys with the job hunt. Like, I graduated from university in January, and so it has been a very, very long time. For reference, this is being recorded in early November, so it's just been a very long process.
Yeah, I mean, I graduated 2 years ago and tried to go out into the market and was like, I really miss school. And now I'm like, I could go to grad school. I could just not have a job again. But yeah, no, that doesn't sound like a possibility. So I sit here at my computer every day, but it's totally okay. I'm gonna get a job. I'm gonna get a job soon. It'll be fine.
Yes, you are absolutely going to get a job soon. Like, the worst part about job applications to me is the sending them out and never hearing anything back. I cannot tell you how many times I have completed an application, sent it to the place, and then just never hear from them again. My spreadsheet is full of like 50 jobs, and I'd say 75% of them never email me back to tell me either that the job's been filled or that I didn't get an interview or even that I did. Like, just no communication whatsoever, and that just makes me sad.
Yeah, it's definitely like it makes you feel like you're just a number. And you're sitting here like, wow, I have all this stuff to offer. How come they didn't even give me a chance to like show them I'm a human instead of just like some writing on a piece of paper?
Yeah, and the jobs that I apply for, I'm a computer science person, so I'm applying to software development positions. And a lot of the time, what you do hear back is, if you hear anything at all, is, "Oh, great, we read your resume. Now we really want you to take this quiz for us." Like, and
Ooh, don't get me started. Get me started. I feel like I do a freaking what is it? Like a school assignment every single time I apply to a job because they're like, "Oh, please tell us write an essay about how you would measure inclusion and how you do this." And those are very important things. I'm really glad that people are thinking more about how to be inclusive and, how to eliminate like bias within the workplace. But like please just like I have I haven't even like gotten an interview. Like, can you like just read my resume first and then I'll do an assignment for you?
yeah, you have to do those before you even submit the application. Like, this is afterwards for me. Like, they'll just email me and be like, "Can you take this quiz?" And I'm like, "Okay, so you don't want to know anything about me as a person. You just want to know my quiz taking ability." Which often these are
Yeah.
aptitude tests. Like,
Yeah.
they ask like math questions or brain teasers, and you
Oh my
have to
gosh.
figure out the answer to them. And then if you pass those, then you get to do a coding quiz, which is where I normally lose. Like, I normally get ghosted after the coding quiz, which is not
Another
great.
one bites the dust.
Oh, so much just feeling of it will never end.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just often wonder like, "Hey, job person, HR person, whoever you are, um, what are you doing?" Like I had a job like I applied to because I was like, "Wow, this place looks really awesome." Like being in like nonprofits and like educational work, like, I'm usually looking at, all right, what are the morals and ethics of this place and like what do they do? Like, do I feel like that's going to make me feel fulfilled in my work, And So that's like the first thing I look at, and then I'm like, "Wow, great." And so I send an application, and then they're like, nothing for months, and then they send me an email, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, sorry it's been so long. We're gonna change the, like," what's it called? The
Job description?
Yeah, the job description, and I'm like, Okay, but, like, what is it?" They're like, "Here it is," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's, like, the same job, you just changed the name." They're like, "Yeah, but it's different." I'm like, "Okay, still, like, do you want me to have a job? Like, or, like, do you want me to work for you or no? Like, I don't really care, like, what the job is, like, just please interview me."
Oh my
And
god,
then
that
they get you through the whole process, and then they're just like, um yeah, there were just a lot of really quality candidates and just, and I'm like, I know that's a canned answer.
mhm.
Uh, like you didn't bother to ask me questions. You wanted me to like do some crazy behind the scenes job market thing, which by the way is a bunch of bull crap. Like I shouldn't have to like go above and beyond and like, you know, call you and ask for an interview and like and then say like, "Oh, can you also give me some information about this position more so?" And like, how could I like what could I say to like really make you want to like take me into this position?
I hate
Like,
that too. Like, the
it,
the behind the scenes stuff where they
oh,
expect you to do other things that they don't tell you about, and they're
yeah,
just and then it's like, "I applied to your job because I'm interested." Like,
right,
that should be enough for you. Why
right,
why do you expect me to go and, like, find you on LinkedIn and, like, do all this other stuff? It's like, that's not part of what I'm doing, and that's also
yeah,
not part of my job. Like, I'd
yeah,
be writing software for you. I'm not a forward-facing person. Like, that's not even
yeah,
remotely close to what I would do, and the fact that
right,
they seem to expect that out of you is just like, why? Makes no sense.
yeah. Well, it also kind of makes you feel that like I don't know the job market isn't for people who don't have connections already. Like it's for
Mhm.
people who, like, their mom and dad are already in the industry and pulled some strings to get them into there, and then that's it, and, like, if you weren't so, like, I'm a first generation college student, and so, I always have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, I guess, about, like, if I'm, like, good enough because, like, it just always seems like someone can tell that I'm not you know, from a prestigious family and therefore instantly get counted out, like, no matter how well I dress, no matter, like, how, articulate like, work to speak, like, it's always just one of those things that's in the back of my head, like, is this something I'm battling, or is this something that I just, like, am insecure about, you know?
Yeah, I totally understand that. Both my parents, are lawyers, so I don't have the exact same experience, but I'm not in the same field as them at all. It's totally different going into the software jobs, and the main problem that I have is that for various reasons in college, I didn't get to do any internships.
Yeah,
So, like, I couldn't freshman year, summer, I thought that I had plenty of time to do it, which turned out not to be the case, so I just went home. Bad planning in retrospect. Don't do that. If you're listening, don't do that. Try to get internships. Sophomore year, I had to go home because I was facing a lot of mental health problems, and I needed time for myself to put myself back together. And then junior year, my mother had surgery, so I went home to, like, help her after her surgery, for the summer. And then, here I am now. This
yeah,
just past the summer after senior year. So the problem I don't have a lot of experience on my resume in
mhm,
software. I have a lot of experience doing other things, like I've worked in retail, I recently did absentee ballots for the 2020 election. Like, I do stuff, but it's not in my field, and therefore, getting people to look at me
yeah,
for a job is really hard.
yeah, yeah, like, it 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 becomes this other skill that nobody told you you needed, like, you always hear people complain, like, "School didn't prepare us for what we were really going to need to know,"
Yes.
which that's a whole whole 'nother topic that I could go on and on about, but, like, one of those things is really like about resume writing and how do you turn that grunt work into something that looks appealing to your higher employers, you know. So like something like I have had a ton of customer service experience. And so taking that, obviously, it was easy to get other customer service experience, like jobs, because I was always like highly regarded by my managers and stuff. But like, I don't want to stay in customer service. Not that there's anything wrong with that, being in that. That's just like not my end all be all life goal, you know.
Mhm.
Um, so I would take like the people skills that I learned from those jobs and sometimes even like um I was always like bored. I would get bored after I mastered something. So I'd be like, all right, next, like manager, what can I do? you know? And they'd be like, oh, like, working at an office store. They're like, you want to go into the printing department now? And I was like, yes, please. Like, let me learn Photoshop. Let me, learn how to bind books and make marketing materials. And then I took that and I was like, all right, I have people skills. I have professionalism in my emails because I'm emailing clients and customers. I have phone skills. I have skills for marketing. And I took those, and sometimes you just have to reword them to make yourself sound more impressive than you might feel your job was. But like, I mean, you still like worked hard, like you do know something at a base level about those things. Like you're not lying.
No.
Um, so I took those things and I put them on my resume, and that ended up getting me, um, into some other positions as well as like, talking to my professors at school and stuff. But, um, like I kind of had some internships, but I kind of wish that I did more earlier. Like if I was a freshman or sophomore, I wish I had started doing stuff then instead of like halfway through my junior year. That's when I started like working with kids in schools and as a research assistant. And I just wish that I had done more of that sooner.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing that I would take away, and if I were to redo my college experience, is that when you get in as a freshman, you think you have so long in college. You think, "Oh, it's
Yes.
it's 4 years, like, you've got plenty of time." It's like, "No, no," like, not to be stressful, but, like, it's not actually that long, especially when you take out all the time that you spend on class. There's not a lot of time to do other things to expand your horizons as a
Uh-huh.
person.
Yeah.
And your college life shouldn't be all about resume building, but, like, you should build in space to put more things in your resume, and I do wish that
Yeah.
I did that differently.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to like I changed my major I think like 3 times. Um
Wow.
so yeah, like I started as an art history major and then I went to a fine arts major. And then I was like, "You know what? I really wanna do psychology," because when I was in high school, I was, like, interested in psychology, but then I wasn't sure. And I was like, "Well, I don't wanna have to go to grad school, so I'm not gonna do psychology." And I got pretty far into doing, like, art, like, I was selling paintings and stuff, but, I was just like, "You know what? Like, I love this, but I don't wanna make this my career." And, so I ended up changing schools. I transferred schools and I went to a program for human development. And I'm really glad I did because I met a lot of really wonderful people and mentors. And I mean, I don't think that enough people are proactive in their college experience to find mentors like that. Like my mentor is my absolute favorite college professor. And I totally could gush about her and like forever because she's just like an amazing human. But I was just like, "Oh my gosh, like she's so amazing. She does all these things that I want to like I really want to be like her." And I was so nervous and I would just like emailed her and was like, "Hey, can I talk? Like can we like set up a meeting in your office? Like can we just like talk?" And she's like, "Sure." And,
See, like, that's great.
yeah, like, I did it. I was so freaking nervous, and I did it, but I was so glad I did, and now, like, like, we're still in contact, like, I'm gonna talk to her tomorrow, like like, because I'm just, like, so thankful for, like, her guidance and stuff, and, I went to conferences because of her, and I went to, like, I have all this, like, data entry experience because of her and, like, have gotten jobs because of her too, like, and, like, that wasn't my original intention, like, to get all these connections with her. It was just like, "Oh my gosh, you're so cool," like, and then it was just, like, I pushed myself, and I'm so glad I did, like, that's just something I think, like, being proactive in college is, like, a really, big deal, you know?
Mhm. One thing that I would say is that I was a double major in American Studies and Computer Science. I made that decision relatively early. Like, I think by second semester of freshman year, I made the decision and was committed, which I know is, like, really early. A lot of people change their majors a lot, like you said. But I'd caution against spreading yourself too thin like I did. Because what I ended up doing was I spent so much time working on my 2 majors that I never really felt like I was a full student of either, if that makes sense. Like, I spent so much time on
Yeah,
American Studies that I wasn't real fully committed to computer science, and I spent so much time on computer science that I wasn't fully committed to American Studies, and now I don't know how I feel about that, like, because I feel like I could have learned so much more computer science if I wasn't also doing American Studies. But then again, my American
yeah.
Studies is what really taught me about the world and how to think about the world in a deeper way.
Mhm.
And I do think that humanities are important. Don't let anybody tell you humanities are not important, because they
Yeah,
are, in how
definitely
we
important.
think about the world and how people communicate with one another. But I do sometimes think how much stronger a student I might have been if I was just a computer science student and was involved with other computer science students. Because like, I didn't go to, like, the Grace Hopper conference, which is something that, like, basically all women in computer science majors do, but I didn't do
Uh-huh.
it, and I regret that. I should have gone at least once.
Yes, conferences, like, you should go. Go
Yeah.
Yeah, go get involved in, like, whatever your major is, go get involved in whatever the club is for that, like, my
Mhm.
major, was, like, involved with the psychology people, so being part of the psych club, like, opened up a lot of doors too.
Yeah, I was a member of the club, but I wasn't very active because 'cause I'm not a very active person. I'm also an introverted human being, so
Yeah,
I don't like to communicate all that much with people, but, like, also just take opportunities as they come. Here's an opportunity that I wish I took, but I was already committed to something else. I was in my algorithms class. This was junior year fall, and my professor approached me and was like, "Hey, Jen, do you want to, like, work with me next semester? Like, do you want to be working with me on a research project?" And I was like, "Oh my god, you want me?" Because I was, like, not a top student in that class. I tried really hard, but I wasn't that great. But unfortunately, I was already committed to studying abroad that next semester, which I enjoyed a lot. I don't regret going abroad, but I think it would have been a great experience to do research with him, and I just never got the opportunity
yeah.
to,
Mhm.
um, which would have been really nice because he was a great teacher. Like, the first day of class, he told us to write a piece of code. I think he asked us to write bubble sort, which, if there are any computer science nerds out there, you know what bubble sort is. It's just to sort some numbers, and I started writing it in my notebook and not on the computer. Everybody else reached for their laptops, and he walked over to me and was like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I like to work with the pencil and paper before I go to the computer, and I'm sorry if I take longer." And he's like, "No, I pencil and paper's good." Like, too many people rely on just their computers to do the coding for them. So,
Yeah,
like, he was a great professor. I miss him.
yeah. Um, I have a similar experience to that, but I think I'm gonna save that for another podcast, so that we can, like, I do I do think that college, like, like, transition is, like, definitely where, like, both of us are, but I definitely do want to start talking about, just kind of, back to the experience, that we wish that we had, kind of
Mhm.
on that note.
Yeah, pulling it back
So,
in.
yeah, pulling it back in 'cause, college is very nostalgic for us, but, I do, like I do know that I have experience for, like, jobs that I've been applying for. But, like, currently, as there's a pandemic going on,
Oh, yeah. The
the
elephant in the
job
room.
yeah, go back over there, elephant, but I have to talk about you for a second. Yeah, it's created a very competitive market, 'cause a lot of people are, out of jobs, but or are like me who, took a chance and left their job not knowing that the pandemic was actually going to affect everything like this. Actually, I didn't think that it was going to even be a pandemic, like, I just kind of heard, "Oh, there's another thing," thinking it would be like the swine flu or something, like it never
Mhm.
touched, like, the whole world like it did, but, so yeah, I left my job because it was toxic, which, sometimes you have to do that, you have to do that to heal and, come back stronger into your career, and there's no shame in that, but, yeah, I mean, it's just really hard to have, um, like, be doing a job hunting experience rather, when you have an awkward amount of experience, like I do, um, like 3-ish years of, like, directly correlated, job experience is kind of an awkward amount of time, at least in my field, um, and so, um, it's really hard to try to figure out, "Alright, this is entry level," right? But then they want 5 to 10 years of experience, and you're going,
Ugh.
"Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. Wait, wait, wait. Let's redefine entry level."
Oh my god,
Um
please. Let us redefine let us define entry level. Is Are you the type of that's the worst, when you're scrolling through a bunch of entry level positions and over 80% of them have, like, 2 to 3 years experience underneath, and it's like, what is entry level to you? Like, why does entry level mean that you have to have so many years of experience beforehand? Like, entry level should mean that I have a college degree, and that is enough for
Yeah,
you.
mhm,
I hate it. I hate it so much.
yeah, um, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. I think, like, on a similar note, there are some jobs that are like, "Oh, yeah, it's full-time, but full-time for our company is 25 hours."
Oof.
Excuse me? Excuse me? Like, no, full-time, flat out, is 40 hours a week. No more, no less. Well, I mean, you could say more, but, 40 hours, like, is the standard, and you cannot take away hours, especially if you're paying hourly, like
Yeah, how are you expected to survive on 25 hours a week when you're
right,
getting
and then
paid hourly?
it's just employers don't wanna have the, accountability to taking care of their employees, and that to me is so scummy, um, and I don't wanna work for a company that's like that, Um, but it's unfortunate because a lot of companies are moving that direction, especially in, like, the nonprofit realm,
Mhm.
but they expect you they're like, "Oh, well, you could just have a second job on the side," like, I'm sorry, you want me to, like, try to balance 2 schedules and then also do all of the extra work that you want me to do? Like, that's not gonna happen, so it it becomes this, like, weird balance where you're like, "Alright, I know I don't have the most experience, but I also know that I'm a human who deserves workers' rights," right? Like,
Mhm.
and to be valued as a human and at least, like, paid a wage where I can live, especially in an expensive area,
Yeah, we've
um
talked about this before. It's like workers deserve their to be treated fairly, and companies doing things to make it worse for employees is just not cool, like cutting hours or paying less or, like, having people not be full-time employees so they don't have to pay benefits. Like, all those things are just
Yeah.
really bad and, like, not cool.
Yes. Not cool at all. Um, yeah, so it becomes this, like, really hard situation where you're, like I mean, you know, you start going, "Well, am I just not good enough? Are my expectations too high to be treated like a human?" Um, like but it's like it's just so hard to prove your worth to employers when you don't already have someone vouching for you inside the company.
Mhm.
Uh, so, that's kind of like my current challenge is how can I get somebody in the company to vouch for me before the job is even posted to all the other people? Um,
Mhm. Oh,
like that
yes, the the joys of networking.
networking is so freaking awkward,
I hate it.
but it's necessary, unfortunately. And that's coming from somebody who I freaking love connecting with people. Like I love making new relationships and I'm just a freaking chatty Cathy. Like I could just like talk people's ears off, like no matter who it is. Well, for the most part. And I don't know, it's just challenging. Because you don't want to start a relationship upon context of what can you give me, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, I and this is coming from a person who hates talking to other people, networking is literally my worst nightmare. Like, the thought of going to a place, like a conference, where all you're supposed to do is just talk to people and make connections is terrifying. So, I avoided it. Still do, honestly.
Yeah.
Just try to avoid it at all costs. And it's not a good strategy. It really is necessary for today's market, which is just unfortunate. Because I don't feel like it
Yeah.
should be necessary. I'd like myself to speak for myself when I apply to the job and not have it be this like the secret world of other things that I should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah,
But like,
I was trying to avoid it for quite a while. My brother was like, "T, you have to do this. Like this is the way to get a job. Like this is the way to be offered jobs while you already have a job, but they're offering you more money." And it's worked really well for him, but he's in a tech field, where you gotta keep moving, before
mhm.
they sell your job to India. Um,
Oh, don't
but
remind me.
well, I mean, not for you, like, I don't know. Like at least in the
It's
beginning,
fine.
the beginning stages of his career were more just like normal tech help desk, which are the types of jobs that get sent overseas. Like maybe not so much like your kind of stuff. But so he got used to that and now is in like cloud engineering. Um, but that's like most likely not going to be like, moving overseas anytime soon. But because he had that like experience and he was like he got used to that momentum, he was like, "T, you have to do this." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know, it's like awkward and I don't want to do it," which fair. Like, I don't know, like you just have to. So I like ignored him for a while. And then my professor, who's my mentor, was like, "All right, like you're going to come with me and the other research assistant to the regional psychology conference." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, really?" Like she's like, "Yep, like you're gonna come, you're gonna present our poster and our research, and it's a 3-day thing. Like it'll be really fun. You'll get to meet lots of people, talk to grad school people, all of that." And I was like so nervous, but I was really excited because like I was like, "Oh my gosh, maybe this is my big break. Maybe I'll get a job offer." Like or something. And there was a girl who got a job offer. She was just like handing out name tags and she got a job offer to work in DC in the, like, women's,
Ugh.
like, and gender study or not gender studies, but, like, something like that, and I was like,
Women and
"What
sexuality
in"
studies?
maybe. It was, like it was some sort of, like, women's rights thing in Washington, DC. Like,
Mhm.
this, like, bigwig just came up to her and loved her and was like, "Hey, you wanna move to DC?" And she's like, "Wait, like, really?" And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, yeah." And just, like, I was like, "What the" like, you can see that, and you're like, "But, like, why her and not me?" But, like, that's her own that's her own journey and whatever, but, like, you sometimes that makes you, like, look at yourself and you're like, "Well, am I, like, less desirable then?" You know?
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't quite s it sits weird, Like,
Yeah,
you're
and I mean,
happy
like
for her, but, like
yeah, that's getting into, like, the dark underbelly of job hunting, and that's the feelings of jealousy that you can get when other people get things that you want, and you
yeah,
have to be like, "Oh, I'm so happy for you," when you are, like, you are happy that somebody else got something because it's what they wanted, but also this feeling of like, "Ugh, I really wish that were me that had the good news."
right. Yeah.
Like, especially since I've graduated, like, a lot of my friends have contacted me and they're like, "Oh, I got this thing," and I'm like, "That's great!" And, meanwhile, I'm sitting here at
Wonderful.
my desk, like, typing away, filling out yet another application for another place, and it just like, it starts like, the longer it goes on, the more you feel like something's wrong with you, like, there's
Yeah,
something wrong with me. Like,
yeah.
is it my application? Is it my experience? Is it just my personality? Is it the way even something as artificial as is it the way that I look?
I feel that.
It
Yeah.
you start to question everything about yourself.
Yeah, like, as much work as I've done personally, just for, like, my own confidence and my self-worth and, like, my own, like, body image and those kinds of things, like, sometimes as, like, a not perfectly standard-sized woman, I sometimes feel like people look at me like maybe I'm not a, like, really skinny girl because I'm lazy or something, you
Mhm,
know? And it's, like, far from the truth, like, I'm I'm an athlete, like, I do all these things, but, like, sometimes people's biases just get in the way, and you just wonder if maybe that's why, but you're never gonna know, and it doesn't even help you to, like, sit there and think about it, like, it just you're
mhm.
just hurting your own feelings, like, it's not helpful, it's just, one of those things that just comes up and you just feel that way, like, you know,
Yeah,
it's challenging.
especially in my field where women are just much less frequently seen, it like, you start to wonder if it's that sometimes when people turn you down.
Yeah.
Especially from video interviews. Like, there have been many times where I've gotten to the video interview part, and then I lose it, and I start to wonder. Like, especially
Mhm.
in these elephant in the room pandemic times, where a lot of it is done on the phone, and then you get to a point where it's the video interview, and then you get cut. You start to wonder if it was the way that you looked,
Yeah.
not necessarily about anything else. And, like, obviously, that's not helpful. Like,
Right.
like, there's not much that I can do about that, and I'm not going to change who I am to please a job, like, get somebody to hire me.
No.
Because if they're
No,
concerned
and if
about
it's
things
gonna be
like superficial look,
superficial,
then I don't want if they're concerned
yeah,
about that stuff, then I don't wanna work for them anyway.
right,
But
screw them. Like, yeah.
yeah, exactly, like, but still, you start to have that little thing in the back of your brain, and it's hard to
Yeah.
get it to go away sometimes.
You you know what, made me feel real good in my last 2 interviews? Um, like, only the one woman who interviewed me was dressed professionally. The other the other people who were interviewing me were all men, and they were wearing T-shirts, ball caps, just,
Mhm.
like, just not even, like showing me the same respect that I'm showing them by putting, like, so much effort into what am I gonna wear, how am I gonna do my makeup, my hair, like, all of that, like and I understand, like, men put less like, not all men, but, like, like, they're in general, like, your stereotypical male is going to put in less effort than a more girly girl like me, but at least, like, put on a freaking button-up shirt, dude, or a polo, you
Mhm.
know? Like, don't come wearing a ball cap 'cause that shows me that you're being disrespectful.
Exactly. I'm not a big fan of the fact that I feel like our clothes show our level of commitment to something. Like, I'd much rather go around in just a sweatshirt and jeans all the time and not be judged
Yeah,
for it, but
yeah,
I do think that if we're doing something and you ask me, like, to dress professionally,
yes,
like, if it's expected for me to look nice, then you should also look nice, and
yes,
when you don't, it's disrespectful. I'm not
right,
asking for a super clean background for your camera, because I think that's unreasonable.
yeah,
And, uh,
especially in
like
these times. Yeah,
yeah, it's yeah, especially during our these COVID times where we have we're at home, we have to set up a camera where we have space to set up a camera. It's elitist to expect people to just have plain rooms to sit in, to do
yeah,
their work.
or a prestigious looking office.
Yeah, it's just, like, not everybody has the resources to do that. So I'm not really mad about the space that somebody's in, but if you're not making
Yeah,
the effort to at least look nice or
mhm.
look like you even tried, then it bothers me.
Yeah, it just kind of, like, just m meet me on the same level, like, maybe the company is more chill, and they really do dress like that every day. That's fine, but, like, if there's no indication that that's, like, the norm, and I don't know, it just kinda hit me the wrong way, but I mean, like, I live, in, like, the mountain states, and, like, people are in general are not, like, super fancy clothing wearers, like, people love just an active look, like, um a lot of people bike to work, a lot of people, like,
Mhm,
just don't they're not wearing dresses to work, they're not wearing pantsuits or, even a button-up shirt, definitely not a tie, like, like, people just, like, are very more are very casual out here, but it kind of bothers me because I mean, not that there's anything wrong with not dressing up, but, like, I love fashion and I love, like, dressing up so much that, like, to me, I don't know. I don't wanna be, like, the one person who's like, "Oh, T thinks that she's so cool and important because she's dressed up in a suit today, or she's wearing a blazer, how fancy." Like, I'm just like, "I just thought it looked cool." Like,
Yeah, I understand that because yeah, I am not that person. I would dress down every day of my life if I could, but
right, which is totally fine, like, you know,
mhm.
like, I love a pair of, like, leggings or jeans and a t-shirt, like, or sweatpants, like, just like anybody else, but, I don't know, there's something about it about dressing up that makes like, it's like you're putting on for me, like, you're putting on your face for the day to feel more powerful and, like, feel more empowered, like,
Yeah, it's
um,
like putting on a super suit.
that
Like, T is dressed in
yeah,
her
exactly.
superhero outfit, and she's here to save the world.
Yeah, super tea with tea, that's me. But, like, I need that kind of, like, ritual to, like, transform myself into my most confident version of myself. And I would do that for, like, presentations and, first time I'm meeting somebody, like, all of that, like, it's just part of my process to be ready to show my best self to whoever I am, and I'm definitely going to be doing that in a first contact with, like, a company who I'm trying to work with.
Mhm. So, I think now it is time for us to transition to really talking about the elephant in the room. In terms of, like, the fact that we are right now in a pandemic means that you can't really get away from the job search ever, like, because you are
Yeah,
stuck in your house, you're stuck at your desk. Like, even like, I started this in January, right? I started my job hunt in January. I would take a couple days. I would go down to my local Starbucks and like work in the Starbucks just for a change of scenery.
Uh-huh.
But then like nope, now I'm just stuck at home all the
Yeah.
time. And it's really it's depressing. It's hard to get over it. And that like where I do fun things at my desk is also where I do work. And it's just where I spend 100% of my time is in my room.
Yeah. Well, especially for those of us who are, still living at home. Like,
Oh
there's
yeah, that's
totally
the other
nothing
part.
wrong with that. Like, yeah, I mean, that's a caveat. Like, not everybody who's our age is living at home, but, if you are, it's okay. Um, like, it's totally a viable thing, and if your parents are happy and willing to have you, then, like, this is the best time to be doing that, and using it as a way to really, support yourself and set yourself up financially and mentally, um, for, a stronger future.
Oh yeah, so I'm still living inside my childhood bedroom that I decorated when I was 14, and now I'm 22 years old trying to job hunt from my desk. And it's a very strange thing that you have to work with in your head. It feels like two different
Yeah.
parts of my life are colliding.
Yeah, like, when the background of, like, your childhood, collides into what you're trying to break into as your future as a young adult, like, it it can be really trying for your mental health and for your confidence in your ability to be an adult. Like, um, and defining adulthood is probably a totally another episode.
Yeah, let's kick that can
But
down the line. Don't want to get there.
but, like, um, it's just I don't know, I think that's why, personally, I worked to try to kind of, like, whittle down, um, and kind of develop my room at my parents' house as I grew up. So it was more of a gradual process instead of, like, this colliding, but I had a different college experience because um I was a commuter student for all of my time at college. So I haven't moved out of this room. Like, so I had to make it work as my kind of adult space, as best as I could to help me feel better about the fact that I wasn't able to afford to go to, a dorm and kind of have that separation from my parents. Um,
Mhm.
like, but I think during COVID, having your space be, um, more well defined. Like, you have to be more, like, creative with how you can redefine a space. Like, is that moving some furniture around? Is that painting your walls? Is that, maybe this kind of work you do in the living room, if you or like the dining room, or like just like a different space than where you're having fun. Like, breaking up the different places where you are, or the different ways that you start your morning, So, like, since I'm pretty much doing the same thing every day, even on the weekends, like, I'm in the same space all day, like, I change my routine on the weekends so that that is my time to relax, unless I have, like, a deadline that needs to be met for, um like, on that day to set up for the next week. Like, changing my routine in the mornings on the weekend are what helps me redefine that time and that space for myself.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree. So, I think that that pretty much wraps up our conversation about the job hunt. So, I hope you liked hearing us listen and complain about that. But so the next segment that we're going to do is it's called Silver Linings. It's to try to remind ourselves that even though we can be frustrated by life, there are silver linings to be happy about. And mine actually really connects with the the theme this week, ironically. So we've been talking about the job hunt, and I actually do have a job that I will be starting tomorrow.
Yay!
Yay! So I did manage to find one, so there is hope, I promise. And I'm really excited and nervous, and it will be remote, so I will just be sitting at my desk for more time a day. Absolutely thrilled about that. But I'm hoping that it will turn out all right. So, what about you, T? What is your silver linings this week?
Well, tomorrow's my birthday.
Woo!
So, I'm 20s over the hill. So yeah, turning 26 tomorrow. But it's my brain's fully developed, and I'm really excited about that as a human development nerd. And yeah, I get to spend some time with my family today, and yeah, and my birthday gift to myself was revamping my office, which is kind of goes hand in hand with what I just kind of went on and on about. But I painted my room grayish, and I'm super excited about it.
Whoa, it's gray. But I've seen it. It's actually more like a purple, purpley gray.
Yeah, it changes kind of throughout the day. But I don't know. I moved my room around, and it's just it gives me so much more inspiration and motivation to create and play and actually get back into the job hunt after being really discouraged for a while. So yeah, I'm really thankful to myself for doing that for myself.
All right, well, thanks for listening to this week's episode. You can find new episodes weekly wherever you get your podcasts. Please subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps us out. We hope you'll continue to listen to us talk about our lives and hopefully learn something about yourself too. And remember, growing up is overrated.